Hello my friends, welcome back to a reading vlog. I thought it would just be fun to take you guys along with me for about a week or so and just keep you up to date with what I'm reading, how I'm feeling about it, and just chat books with you all. I don't know if I've done one of these, or if I have, it has been a while, but it is currently I don't actually know, 20 something. We're nearing the end of September, so I'm assuming I'm only gonna finish like 1 to 2 more books for the rest of the month. I am currently reading Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which was a hugely anticipated release for me personally because I love Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing and her stories. She just is such a storyteller and I adore her books, so I was really excited about this one, and I have about 100 pages left. I am really enjoying it at the moment, but I'm not obsessed, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought I was gonna be obsessed, but I'm not so far. I was obsessed with Evelyn Hugo, obsessed with Daisy Jones, obsessed with Malibu Rising, and this is the only one out of that kind of quartet that she has that I haven't been just obsessed with. And I don't think it's going to be 5 stars, which is crazy to me because I just really thought it was going to be. Not every single book that I've read by her has been a 5-star read for me, but a lot of them have been. So in saying that, it's really good. The writing is great. I am enjoying it. The characters are really interesting, but it just doesn't have that same, I guess, just like 5-star feeling that her other books have had for me. And I also just don't care that much about tennis, and I do think that has impacted my reading experience. And I've heard mixed reviews from other people in terms of the whole tennis factor, whether it affects their reading experience or not. I've heard some people say it didn't affect their experience at all, and some people who said it did, and for me it has so far, but we'll see how we go. I'll keep you guys updated. I might finish this today or tomorrow. We'll see. And as for reading plans, I don't really have any apart from finishing Carrie Soto is Back, and I'm also currently reading My Year of Rest and Relaxation. I only started this one today, and I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty short, so I think I will finish this over the next few days. It is super odd, but I'm really enjoying it so far. It's very unlike the normal stuff that I read, but I've heard such incredible reviews, and I don't know why it's so good because nothing is really happening, but it is really good. It's just basically about a young lady who wants to take the year off and sleep because she's just very unhappy, and if she's sleeping she doesn't have to deal with her emotions and her feelings, I guess. And there are a lot of reasons as to why she's unhappy and why she feels this way, and it's just very interesting. It doesn't sound interesting but it is, I promise. It's now Wednesday, it's 3 p.m. I just got home from the gym and I have a little bit of time to myself before I need to do a few more things on my to-do list, and so I'm gonna do a bit more reading. I actually finished My Year of Rest and Relaxation last night, so I might give you an update on that soon. Not really an update, I guess give you my final thoughts, but for now I want to make a little bit more of a dent in this. I'd love to finish this today because I think I want to film my wrap up tomorrow, and this is the last book that I think I'll include in that wrap up because although I'm like midway through a lot of other books because I read like 5 books at once, I don't think I'll finish any more by the end of the month, so I may as well get my wrap up done and ready. But for now, we're gonna read some more Carrie Soto. I think I updated you yesterday, but I have just under 100 pages left to go on this one. I just got to page 285, but I realized that I don't think I've talked to you about how I'm enjoying this or like what I'm thinking about this. It's hard to remember what I've said and what I haven't. If you guys have followed me for a while, you know that TJR is one of my favorite authors, and this was one of my really highly anticipated releases for the year, and it's really good, but I don't think it's going to be a 5 stars for me. This probably would not have been a book that I would have picked up if I didn't know the author. Just based on the plot, I don't think I would have picked it up, but if I didn't have the expectation of knowing TJR's writing, I would be blown away by this. I think I'd just be like, wow, this is amazing. But it just doesn't seem to have the same flair that a lot of other books by TJR have to me, like how I feel about them. It is so crazy how a book can truly transport you to being somewhere, I guess. And this book is one of those that has really transported me to be at these games, watching these matches. I get genuinely nervous the same way I would when I was playing sport, like when I was in high school and stuff. Hello, thank you. Package. When I read about her matches that she is playing, and especially the more important ones where the win or loss really, really matters. I genuinely get the same feeling of like anxiousness and nervousness that I used to get when I played sport, like when I played team sport. And obviously I never played to the level that Carrie Soto was playing. Like she's playing best people in the world, you know, like pros. But it's just crazy that I can get that same feeling reading a book when it's not even like happening and I don't even know this person. This person isn't even real. And I don't even care about tennis, but I'm still like so nervous for her. And I just have so much anticipation. And I just think that's so cool, and it really speaks to the writing 100%. All of it is described so well. So good. Also, this vlog will be spoiler free for every book that I read in this vlog. I don't know what I'm gonna read in this vlog yet, but everything I will try and keep spoiler free. But I am gonna say this. She's currently at Wimbledon, and I think I know how this one is gonna go. I have two theories of like how this book is gonna end, and I'll tell you if I'm right or wrong, but I won't tell you what the theories are because they're spoilers. But I'm really intrigued to see if I'm right, if I've guessed it all correctly. I have just finished Wimbledon. What I expected to happen did happen, but not in the way that I expected it to happen. And now I've got like 50-60 pages left, but I need to get back into some work, so hopefully I'll get through the rest of this tonight. It's now Friday. I don't remember if I talked to you guys yesterday or not, but I'm just taking my lunch break and I think I'm about to finish Carrie Soto. I think I have about 10 or just over 10 pages left, and it's kind of like the climax, I guess, of the plot. Me trying not to give anything away. I mentioned this the other day, but I do have a theory on how it's going to end, and I'm really intrigued to see if I'm right. I could be wrong, but I feel like if I am wrong, the story is too predictable. So I've predicted an unpredictable outcome. Well, a less predictable outcome. What I thought was going to happen happened, but I'm glad it happened that way. Like, I think it was the right move for the story to make. Okay, that's something I did not expect in the last chapter. A little tiny little plot twist that I was not expecting. Whilst editing, I realised that I never shared my final thoughts on either of these books, so let me talk about them for a quick sec. This one was a 4.5 star read for me in the end. I will say the second half for me felt significantly better than the first half, and honestly, if I was just rating the second half, I probably would give it 5 stars because it did turn into one of those books that I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. Like, I'm loving the whole experience of reading this, but I don't feel like I could really give it 5 stars because the start didn't feel like that for me. It's funny because there's a sticker on the front of this that says, a thrilling, joyful smash hit of a book, you will fall in love with Carrie. And I remember reading that sticker while I was probably like 150 pages into the book, and I was like, I do not love Carrie at all. I don't. She's not a likable character, and I feel like I did by the end really like her, but it took a really long time for me to like her and for me to root for her. But yeah, it just took me a little bit longer to fall in love with this book, but I did end up having a really great experience with it, and TJR just is such an incredible storyteller. Her storylines and her characters that she creates just feel so real. And then obviously I finished my year of rest and relaxation. I ended up quite enjoying this. I gave it 3.75 stars, so not like the best book I've ever read, but I did thoroughly enjoy it. I feel like people have quite polarizing opinions on this. Some people absolutely adore it and some people absolutely hate it. Some people find it really boring and some people find it very insightful. I feel like I do sit somewhere in the middle. I found it very intriguing, and I didn't actually find it boring, which is interesting because based on what it's about, it sounds really boring. I do understand that. But I didn't find it boring. I thought the whole concept of it was just like, it felt like I was just being really nosy and I just really wanted to know like what this girl was doing. And I feel like I had that curiosity like satisfied throughout this book. However, if you're not curious about her and if you don't feel nosy, then I can see how this could be a really boring read. So I don't think this is for everyone, but I personally quite enjoyed it. And honestly, it was just a quick, good time to me. But yeah, those are my thoughts on those two books. Am I wearing the same outfit as you saw me in last time? Probably, but it is a different day. It is now Saturday, and I started reading Love on the Brain. Did I start it this morning or last night? I think I just started this morning. Anyway, started Love on the Brain. I just got to 100 pages, which is like just under a third of the book. I think it's like 350, yeah, around 350 pages, which is like a nice length in my opinion, but I'm really enjoying it so far. It's a lot of fun. I can't tell yet if I'm gonna enjoy it more than The Love Hypothesis. I do see why people say that this is like so similar to The Love Hypothesis, but I also almost like have the expectation that that's gonna be the case, I guess, because I've heard so many people say that. But yeah, I'm really enjoying the characters, really enjoying the story so far. The plot is really well formed, well put together, which I love. I love romance that has an actual plot going on in the background. It's not just like two people fluffing around but like not actually doing anything significant other than falling in love. Whereas like this is a workplace romance, I guess you could say. There's no romance yet. I hate saying enemies to lovers, but I honestly don't have that much time to talk right now because I need to start getting ready for dinner because we need to leave in like 20 minutes, and I look like this and we're going somewhere nice. But so far so good, really fun, loving the writing. The only reason why I haven't given myself enough time to get ready is because I want to keep reading this, so that's how you know it's good. I feel like I always update you guys sitting in this exact same spot, but this is just my favorite reading spot, so it's usually where I'm sitting when I'm reading. But a little update for you guys. It's now the next day. Sorry if you can hear the birds, they are screaming. Today's Sunday, and typically on the weekends, if we don't have a lot of plans, that means I do a lot of reading. And so I'm now at page 200 and I'm having a lot of fun with this. So I'm a little bit over halfway. And yeah, I feel like the best way to describe my experience with this book so far is just fun. It's not giving me 5-star vibes, but it's definitely really enjoyable. The only like hesitations, frustrations, things that are annoying me are, one of the things that really frustrates me in romance books is when they say a book is enemies to lovers. And I'm not sure if this one is marketed as enemies to lovers, but I feel like this has the same vibe that I've seen a lot of romance enemies to lovers, like the tropes and the behavior. And the thing is, it's not enemies to lovers. It's misunderstanding to lovers, you know? Like, you thought that they hated you, but really they never did. And that is the situation with this book. And it's doing the thing that the Spanish Love Deception did. And it also really annoyed me in the Spanish Love Deception, where the main girl thinks that the main guy hates her based on something that happened in their past many years ago in a workplace setting. And I'm assuming in this book, it's just a misunderstanding. And the girl is like, he hates me, he despises me, he thinks I'm awful, he thinks I'm stupid, blah, 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 blah. And then they proceed to make that their like identity, being like, I am the girl that is hated by this certain guy. And they bring it up all the freaking time, no matter how nice the guy is to them. Happened in Spanish Love Deception, happening in here, especially with the workplace setting. It's like so easy to tell that the guy doesn't hate her because he's not doing anything mean. Like if anything, he's doing a lot of nice things. It's very predictable. That's my other thing. It's very, very predictable so far. But in saying that, it's a cutesy, fluffy rom-com. Like it's just, that's going to be the vibe, you know? You have to kind of go into it expecting that. And I think I've just gone in with good expectations. I've gone in expecting it to be cheesy and fluffy and a little bit quirky. And I think that's just the right expectation to go into it with. And also, a lot of people were saying it is very, very similar to The Love Hypothesis. And it definitely is. It really is quite similar, but I really did enjoy The Love Hypothesis, and I read that one around a year ago, I want to say. So I feel like because I read that one so long ago, now that I'm reading this one now, it doesn't feel like I'm reading the same book twice, but I can draw the parallels. Like it's very obvious. So I can see why people are saying that, and I can see why that annoys some people. It's not annoying me, but maybe that's because I heard people say that before I picked it up, so I knew that that was going to be the case. But however, even though I've said a few negative things about it, I am having a lot of fun with this. I'm really enjoying our love interest. The main girl is a little bit frustrating, but not to the point where I'm not enjoying reading. There's definitely like no romance yet, and I'm on page 200. Like they're very much still in that stage of like, they're kind of becoming friends now, I would say, even though she insists on every third page that they are enemies, which they are not. So I'm enjoying like the friendship kind of vibe. Actually, I do have one more thing that has been ticking me off reading this book, and this ticks me off in every single romance book where this happens. Hello, editing Rachel here. When I rewatched this clip, I felt like the way I was talking about this thing was not getting my point across the way I wanted it to. But I've also tried re-explaining myself so many times, and I can't seem to get the words out the way that I want them to come out. So I'm just gonna say, one of the biggest issues that I had with this book is an issue that I have with multiple other romance books as well, and it's when the author feels the need to discuss the size of the guy and the girl consistently throughout the novel, even though it has no impact on the plot or the chemistry between the characters or like why they think a certain way about each other. Like all of the discussions about the character's size could have been taken out of this book and it still would have had the same romance, it still would have had the same plot, it still would have been the same book. I actually could rant about it for so long, but I'm not going to. But I just want to say that is one of the tropes in this book, and it seems to be somewhat common across, sorry about the birds, across romance books. Just the constant comments about how big and muscly and tall the guy is and how little and petite and small and short the woman is. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And if you're ever writing a book, please don't include it because it's so unnecessary and it's kind of toxic in my opinion. Anyway, moving on. Hello friends, I am very egg-like today, so please ignore that. I thought the whole like slicked back bun thing or like slicked back hair would look cute and I genuinely just look bald, so ignore. But it is Tuesday today and yesterday morning I finished Love on the Brain and I want to talk to you guys about it. I had so much fun with this. I really enjoyed it. I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars, which is actually quite a good rating, but I had a lot of fun with this. It definitely wasn't perfect. I've already talked at length about some of the problems that I had with this book, but overall, it was just fun. I haven't been in the mood to read a rom-com in so long, and I think I was just in the perfect mood to read this, and I was in the perfect mindset to pick this up. And I think I might have mentioned this already, but I think if I had not been in the mood for this specifically, like this very specific type of fluffy, cutesy rom-com type of book, I would not have enjoyed this. But I think I just was in that place mentally, and so it was just a great time. Very interesting because I posted a photo on my Instagram story on my Bookstagram account. I'll put the name on the screen if you guys want to follow it to keep up with what I am reading in real time. Put a little post up on my Instagram story just like showing that I was reading this, and I got so many responses from my followers saying things like, I did not enjoy this, I am intrigued to hear your thoughts because this wasn't very good to me. Just like basically saying you didn't really like this. And that's just so interesting to me because obviously, like I just said, I gave it 4 stars, but I will say I DM'd a few of you guys, had a discussion with a few of you guys about it. It seems like the general consensus of this book is that it was just too similar to The Love Hypothesis, which I can totally see, and I definitely agree with. I think it could kind of go 2 ways for you. If you really enjoy The Love Hypothesis, you might really enjoy this because it does have a lot of similar attributes to it. But I can also see why that could make you not enjoy it, because if you really liked that one, it might just feel like you're rereading the same book and that might frustrate you rather than you enjoying it. I don't know whether to recommend this or not. Like I said, I had a lot of fun with it. Overall, I really liked that it felt like a romance with a plot. Like there was an actual significant plot, and I really, really liked reading about the plot and reading about like her job and her project that she was working on with Levi. That whole just aspect of the book felt really good. Like it was just really well written, in my opinion. Sometimes you read romance books and it just doesn't feel like they have any plot at all. I also just really liked Levi as a character. I thought he was written really well. I loved seeing the similarities between the 2 main characters and them kind of like finding all these things that they had in common. It was just really cute. I liked the little like subplot with the like texting, or not texting, like Twitter DMing. I will say actually that was another thing that people said that they didn't like about this book, was how predictable it was. And I totally agree. There was absolutely nothing that happened in this book that I was not expecting. Even like the plot twist at the end, which I don't know if you can really call it a plot twist, but even the like bit at the end where something went wrong and it turns out there's someone involved with the thing that went wrong, it was so obvious the whole way that it was going to happen, I thought. So when they found out who did it, I was like, obviously, like, are you stupid? But also in saying that, that didn't really stop me from enjoying it, because I went into this being like, it's just a fluffy rom-com. Like I'm not really here for a huge plot twist or a really unpredictable storyline. Like I'm not here to be like shocked. I'm just here to have a fun time. So the predictability didn't ruin anything for me, but it definitely was, it was there. Like there was very predictable. But yeah, overall 4 stars, lots of fun. If you didn't like The Love Hypothesis, I don't recommend reading this. Moving on, after I finished that one, I picked up another book that is on my TBR for this month and I also got from the library, and this is called Clean by Juno Dawson. And since starting this, I didn't realize, but this is the author of, I can't remember the name of it because I always get it confused in my brain because it's kind of a confusing title. Something Lord Majesty, something Her Royal Majesty, I don't know. I'll put it on the screen so you guys can see it. It's a book that's getting a lot of hype at the moment. I'm pretty sure it's adult fantasy. I think it's adult fantasy. I haven't read it, heard a lot of people talking about it, but it's the same author and I just had no idea. Anyway, that's just a little side note, but I picked up this one from the library because it just seemed really intriguing to me. It is about a 17-year-old socialite. Her family is very wealthy. They own a bunch of hotels, and so she's just being raised in that kind of environment. She's rich, her family's rich, her friends are rich. She lives in high society London, basically. But she has been admitted to a rehab facility, a really like prestigious, is that the right word? They say exclusive, and a really exclusive rehab facility because her brother is really worried about her because she is just a drug addict, specifically heroin, and he's just really worried about her. So he admits her to this facility, and now I'm about 100 pages in. She has gone through the most dramatic part of her withdrawals, I'm assuming. I don't really know a whole lot about drug addiction or drug recovery. So is that the right word? Recovery? I guess just like healing and recovering from drug addiction. Like I don't really know a lot about that. So it is a really, really interesting read because I have no knowledge about that sort of stuff. And I love reading books about things that I just have no idea about. So right now she's gone through majority of her withdrawal symptoms, and now she is kind of being integrated into the like group aspect of the therapy and rehabilitation process. So the rehab facility is only for young people. I'm pretty sure only up to the age of 24, I think they said. And it's also like on an island, so they just like literally cannot escape, which is so interesting to me. There is a ferry, but obviously there's probably security on the ferry, so unless they want to swim away, like they're not leaving. So I'm just kind of starting to get introduced to the other younger characters in the book. We have been introduced to a lot of like staff members and therapists and stuff, but I'm intrigued to get to know the other teenagers and characters that are also dealing with their addictions and recovery. But obviously, based on what I've just been saying, this is a pretty actually it says right at the beginning, Clean is a work of fiction, but it deals with many real sensitive subjects including mental health, eating disorders, self-harm and addiction. Links to advice and support can be located at the back of this book. So obviously there are a lot of trigger warnings in this book, so I just want you to be aware before you pick it up. But so far I'm really intrigued. It's very easy to read in the sense of like I'm flying through it, like I'm really intrigued. I don't want to put it down, and I'm really interested to see where the story goes and what happens, because I just have no predictions about what is going to happen apart from hopefully she recovers during this process, or at least starts to, because I don't know how long like the timeline of this book is. But yeah, thoroughly enjoying this one so far. Little update. Obviously, I've continued reading Clean. I'm at page like 150, just after 150. And honestly, I didn't think this book would be as heavy as it is. Obviously, it talks about a lot of heavy topics, but because it's YA, I didn't think it would be so like difficult to read. And it's very easy to read in terms of writing. Like the writing is quick, it just flows nicely, like it's easy to read in that way. But actually what you're reading about, it's getting harder and harder, because obviously as you meet more characters and you read about their addictions or just like, I don't want to say problems, but like difficulties, the things they're struggling with. As you read about it, you're just like, this actually hurts. Like it hurts that people have to deal with this, and it makes me sad. So obviously, like I said, there are definitely trigger warnings in this book, but even if you don't feel like you can personally relate, like me, I'm like, oh, it's okay, it's about drugs and things, I don't think that will necessarily be a triggering topic for me because it's not something that I've experienced. It's still, it's not triggering for me to read, but it's just difficult because it's just sad, but it's real, which is great. It definitely gives insight to a world that maybe I just didn't have a good understanding of previously. And I don't know how realistic this representation is, but it definitely gives me more empathy, sympathy. I don't want to pity people, but it helps me understand maybe their mindset a little bit more if they're struggling with addiction, I guess. I'm going to keep reading now. Hello friends, it is now Thursday morning, and last night I finished Clean, and I think last time I talked to you I was probably 150 pages in actually, and so I kind of just binged it yesterday afternoon / evening, finished it, and I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I did enjoy it, but overall it was just a lot heavier than I thought it was going to be, and so I really struggled, or at points it was just really difficult to read because of the content. So the actual writing was very easy to read, but the topics that they discuss and some of the things that the characters were going through were just like hard to read because you just felt so sad for them. So obviously I understand that the point of the story is to be difficult and is to be not just like a light fluffy read. Like, it has very serious topics and it talks about them well, I would say. So the fact that it discussed like difficult topics wasn't like a negative thing to me, in the sense of it's not like why I didn't give it 5 stars. That was actually really well done. And I think, yeah, like I said, the whole point of it was to be difficult and to kind of pull at your heartstrings and like make you feel some type of way. So I think that was actually really well done. But the reason I didn't give it 5 stars, there's like a couple things that I just didn't love. I think my main thing was there was a subplot of romance in this book that just felt really unbelievable to me. Like, I just personally think the story would have been stronger without the romance, because I feel like there was enough going on and the plot itself was good enough for there not to be a romance needed, and it just felt like it was included for the sake of including a romance, if that makes sense. And I just didn't love it. It just, because it was a subplot, we didn't get a lot of info about it, but because we didn't get a lot of info about it, I just didn't really care about it. But it ended up having a bit of significance in the ending, and I was just kind of like, I feel like I wish the ending was more focused on the individual that we saw going through the recovery process rather than the romance, because it just felt like that ended up being the main focus, whereas her getting clean and her recovering from addiction was really the main thing. And it's very hard to discuss this without like fully explaining the ending, but I just felt like I wish there was no romance, which is really odd for me to say because I love romance, I do, and I love romance as a subplot usually, but I think this one just wasn't done in a way that I personally liked. But maybe other people like it, I don't know. I did love the character development in this book. As you can imagine, someone going into a rehab facility is probably gonna have a really great character development over the span of this book. And I also really loved the found family. I always say this, but give me a book with found family and I'm probably gonna love it. I'm probably gonna rate it highly because that's just my favorite trope ever. And it was just really beautiful seeing the found family in this book. But I also wrote down in my notes, I enjoyed this, but it's not at the top of my recommendations, especially if you're not doing well mentally. I feel like I'm personally doing very well mentally, especially in comparison to just other times in my life. Like, I feel like I'm really doing well, and this still made me feel a bit icky. It still was difficult for me to read. It was still a struggle. So I really hesitate to recommend this, especially if you're not doing very well mentally. I think this is a book that could just not help you with that, I guess. Because obviously it's talking about triggering topics. And like I said earlier when I was reading this, I didn't think going into this that it would be difficult for me to read, because drug addiction and drugs in general, addiction in general is not something that I have personally struggled with, but it still was difficult for me. I wouldn't say triggering, but just difficult. So I would just say don't go into this lightly, because I wouldn't call it an enjoyable experience. It was definitely intriguing, and I liked being able to be in the head of someone that's gone through something that I just personally have never dealt with. And I think that's a really great thing about books, is you can gain a lot more understanding and empathy for people that just think differently and have lived different lives than you have. But I wouldn't say it's fun or enjoyable. But anyway, I think I'm going to actually end this reading vlog here, because we've read a few books and it's been a little over a week since I talked to you last, and I need to go return some of these books, because this one, since it's a new release, I don't have it for very long, and I want to return it so that other people can read it, because I'm sure since it's a new release there are a lot of people that want to read it. So I'm going to return these two. I still have all of my other library books to continue reading, but this was a really fun reading vlog. I had a lot of fun. If you guys want to see more weekly reading vlogs in the future, please let me know, because if there's something that you enjoy, I could definitely do them more often. Just to give a little summary of my thoughts on the books we read in this video, of course we started off with Carrie Soto Is Back. I loved this, 4.5 stars. I personally didn't enjoy this one as much as I've enjoyed some of her other books, but it was still definitely in like my top 5 of TJR books. We also read Love on the Brain, which I rated 4 stars. Definitely a lot of fun, but also obviously I talked about my issues that I had with it. But if you just want a fun rom-com with a decently good plot and also women in STEM, We'd love to see that. Definitely recommend. And then obviously we had Clean, which I just finished talking about, so I'm not going to rehash my thoughts, but 4 stars. A very successful reading vlog in my opinion. I really enjoyed all of these books and they were all really different, which was fun. But I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. I had so much fun spending the week with you and just chatting books because it's my favorite thing to talk about. I love you guys and I will see you in my next video very soon. Goodbye.